All right, welcome back to Girls Next Level, everybody. Bridget, you might have to pull the energy this week because I did not get any sleep a couple nights ago and I'm still in a sleep deficit and just kind of blah.
Okay, what happened?
My boyfriend works in the paranormal and sometimes he brings home different types of energies and stuff. So 2 nights ago, I just kept getting woke up over and over again by something I cannot explain.
Creepy.
So here we are. And usually I sleep like a brick all night, so.
I'm hit and miss on how I sleep, but I feel pretty good today, so.
Good, because we need some energy.
I definitely got energy today.
So this week's episode, we are going over Girls Next Door Season 1, Episode 8, Midsummer Night's Dream. And this originally was kind of like what we thought could be the last episode ever. Because they only ordered 8 episodes of Girls Next Door. And then when the show was successful, they added on the rest of the season later.
Oh, I 100% thought this was going to be the last episode. Mm-hmm. And in the end, and we'll get to the end obviously, but we even do wrap-ups and stuff. It's over. That's it.
Yeah.
And we do not know we're getting more episodes, let alone seasons. But before we even get into starting this one, I realized when I went to go watch this episode that it's the first episode on disc 2.
Oh.
And so before I switched discs, I watched the deleted scenes and stuff from disc 1. And I was just thinking, and this is just a tease for later, but I was thinking at the end we should do not the end, but the end of full season 1, we should maybe do a deleted scenes.
Yeah, I think that would be fun.
Yeah, because there was a lot in there.
Yeah.
And they're oddly really rough. They're not edited very much.
You know what? I'm going to take a break and give him a treat because he is loud and proud.
Yes, I just feel they're very raw and unedited, but it covers a lot of stuff that didn't get covered in the show and things that were going on outside of the show. Well, I mean, obviously not outside of the show. They were filming it, but stuff that never made the episode. So I feel there's a lot there to talk about.
Yeah, I'm curious to see it because I don't think I ever watched the deleted scenes from disc 1.
Yeah, this was, I think, my first time watching them, so...
We shall see.
Yeah.
So this episode is all about the Midsummer Night's Dream party, which was kind of Playboy's biggest party. The Halloween party was big too, but this was kind of the more generic one, the one people thought of when they thought of Playboy parties. It was Hef's biggest party of the year, probably about 1,000 people, and it was fairy theme. I mean, the theme would kind of vary, but we can get to that. But also this episode is about giving your sister Anastasia a makeover, and I kind of wanted to touch on what our intentions were doing that makeover, because when I talked about this episode on my YouTube, there was probably just one person, but it stuck with me. There was one person in the comments saying, how could you tell a young girl she has to look like this? You bought her boob inserts. How could you tell a impressionable young girl that she has to look that way? And we can talk about it with Anastasia when she comes on the show, but that was not our intention. Our intention was we just thought it would be fun to do a quote-unquote makeover episode and kind of turn Anastasia into the quote-unquote typical Playboy girl. For fun, not because anybody was telling her, you have to look like this, or this is the beauty standard, or anything like that. I thought of it as kind of a cosplay.
Well, I'm sure we'll get into this more in the episode, but she was watching us do all these photo shoots and getting all hair and makeup done up and everything, and she was feeling down on herself. She was feeling frumpy and not pretty, and she confided in my mom about it and stuff, so I felt it would be fun to give her a makeover too, get her hair and makeup done as well, and she felt really good about herself, and we can talk about that more, when she comes on and everything, but I thought that we were doing it for her,
Yeah, and it wasn't like that. It wasn't you have to look like this, or you're only good if you look like this. It was more just a fun thing to do for a party.
Yeah, and I felt she was excited about it. We didn't push her to do anything she didn't want to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure we'll get into this more in the episode, but I don't even think she wore the boob things.
No!
Because you say later, but we'll talk about that. I don't want to jump ahead, but but yeah, so she didn't do anything she didn't want to do.
Yeah.
So the scene starts out at Trashy.
Yes, which we basically lived at Trashy. I think I said that in the commentary. Like, I feel like we live at Trashy because that was kind of where we would go, not just for party outfits, but they were great at just custom making anything. So if I ever got an idea for like a certain dress I wanted for a random event, we would go to Trashy. And I had forgotten that woman Bridget didn't really work at Trashy as like a designer or store employee. She was one of Trashy's models.
Well, she was also their PR person.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But she wasn't typically who would have like sketched up an outfit for us or done our fittings. But none of those people wanted to be on camera, so they kind of had to bring somebody in.
Yeah, well, I kind of also want to describe Trashy just a little bit more because I feel like the name sounds so bad.
Girl, my dad used to roast me. He's like, you go shopping at a place called Trashy. I couldn't say it in front of him without him just dying.
Well, it does sound really bad, but like in LA, like it is a great store. They custom make things. They just really know how to fit your body. They've got the corset thing down. They've got the boobs down, making the small waist down. Like they just really know the female form, I feel like. And they just do a really great job of making you feel great in the things you get from them.
And you know what else? I think they were like the first people to do like the quote unquote slutty Halloween costumes. Like, I don't want to say the first one to do slutty Halloween costumes. Like, let's go back to gay pride parades in the 70s or whatever. But like the first people to do like the skimpy Disney princess themed costumes and sell them. Like now you can find a costume in a bag everywhere and everybody kind of expects to dress up that way for every Halloween. But I remember being so excited to be able to shop at Trashy when I moved into the mansion because those costumes I felt were expensive back then and I could have never afforded it before I moved in, and I was really excited.
I was excited too. All of their stuff is really well made. Most of our stuff was custom made. Mm-hmm. Not everything, because they do have stuff just on the rack, but most of it was custom made. They like would work with us on all kinds of things. I could bring a fabric in and be like, I want this dress with this fabric, with like all kinds of stuff. So it was really fun to work with them. And the two people who we worked with the most, like you said, didn't want to be on camera. It's unfortunate, but Bridget, who's really, really sweet, she's their PR girl. She came and met with me anytime I needed to do a scene at Trashy. It was like with Bridget.
Awesome, Bridget and Bridget.
Yeah.
Also, can we talk about their membership fee they had at the door?
They still do.
That's so funny. Okay, so it's only $2, so it's not like this exclusive thing. But you can't go into Trashy Lingerie and shop without this membership. You have to like put your name on file and like give $2, and they give you a little card, and they'll only let you behind like the swinging saloon door thing and buzz you in if you have that membership. And I don't know if that was just to like keep creeps from
I think
coming
it is
in
to
there.
keep creeps, and I also think it's to keep people who aren't serious about buying something out.
Oh, that
like
makes
girls
sense.
that just want to look or like lurk around to see if a celebrity comes in or something.
Oh, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, and they still do it because I still get stuff from them, and I've been there recently, and I hadn't been in a while, and supposedly you have to pay this membership fee once a year, and I walked in, I had an appointment and everything, and she was like, "Are you a member?" And I'm like, I'm sure I am because I've been coming here forever and I've had probably $1 million in clothes.
Yeah.
And she's like, and it was somebody I didn't recognize before, and she's like, well, and she looks at my card, I don't see you on file. She would not let me in. I'm like, I have an appointment with Edie. Like, Edie knows me. Like, I know everybody in here. What are you talking about? She's like, I'm sorry, it's going to be $2. I can't let you in. And I was like, are you serious right now?
Oh my God, that's funny. It reminds me of like, I don't know if you ever ran into these people, but like 10 years ago, there were a couple guys like out on the club scene, and their shtick was they would bring stacks of $2 bills out to the club and just throw them out and hand them out.
No.
Isn't that random?
I don't recall.
There's like a couple different guys who did that.
How weird.
Yeah.
And then Nick was with me, and she was like, is he your guest? And I'm like, gosh, like, you're allowed one guest per visit. And I was like,
I never knew about that rule. I don't think I ever really went with anyone, but I didn't know about that rule.
I'm like, okay, I used to film here. I used to like practically live here. I've modeled for you guys. I've bought I don't know how many outfits here, and you still want my $2 like to come in the door. Okay. You know what? After I did the scene with Bridget too, Bridget squared. Then I had to do a real fitting with the real people off camera.
Oh yeah, 'cause you got to really get down to business.
Yeah. And you were talking in commentary too about how many people just don't want to be on camera, because that's something, and I think it might be different now. I don't know for sure, but back when we were filming Girls Next Door, like there were so many people who were like afraid of the cameras.
Like it might be different now just because people are so accustomed to like social media.
Yeah.
But people in LA used to get all freaked out, like, don't film me, you know? And I'm like, nobody is, boo. Like, what the fuck? But people would get so annoyed, and yeah, it was just a thing.
Yeah. So then the next scene is they show shots from the Midsummer's party. And this is what they did for 4th of July, too. Like, they show the party.
It's like a highlight reel.
Yeah, it's like you gotta know this is just a sneak peek, folks, of what we're gonna get into here. This is what's coming. And then in commentary, you say that during the party, it's hard to notice how beautiful the party is. And I talk about how, like, I always used to go out to the parties, like, before people got there, like, when they're still just, like, doing the final touches and stuff, just to, like, feel it, because it's so beautiful. And you really feel like when you step outside into that tent and all the flowers and the greenery and the lights, it just feels like you're in another world.
It does, and it's kind of sad because I feel like the show doesn't really do it justice. Not because the show did anything wrong, but because the party was designed for real life and like your sensory experience in real life. It wasn't really designed for like cinematography. So I feel like the party doesn't, like, you get a taste kind of what it is, but it's not the same vibe. And you notice weird things when you're just removed and you're looking at it and you're like, what are those tacky metal palm tree things they have in there? Whereas when you're there, you're taking in the whole thing and like the lighting and how it hits you when you're there in real life, and it's such a different experience.
And I don't know what it is, too, but something about having the whole pool area tented off, and the pool and the waterfall with the lighting and
Yeah,
stuff.
they have it lit really
looks
cool.
So amazing. And then you say, this is in the show now, this week is Midsummer Night Dream, and I thought you looked so young in this interview.
I don't remember. What interview was it?
Yeah, I think you're wearing, like, yellow. And
I wonder if it's the one where I was in the game house and I hardly have any makeup on.
maybe.
I don't know. I'm confused. I when we bring up, like, I've noticed this before, like sometimes I'll bring up an interview. It's hard to like place what interview it is.
Yeah. But I feel like you were wearing yellow, and I just feel like you just looked, I feel like you had bangs, but I could be wrong on that. And I just feel like you looked really young.
Oh, thank you.
And I say Midsummer's is the coolest party in Hollywood, and Kendra says it's her favorite party because it celebrates, and then she's not sure what it celebrates. She's like middle of summer, or end of summer, or whatever, who cares.
People still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, but, so they show like the transformation going on, which again is just like a prelude to what's happening later, because we're not even to that point yet. And they show the paintings or like the art.
Oh God, I know what you're gonna say.
What am I gonna say?
I don't know. It's just, first of all, it wasn't really good, and they made Hef look. They did a picture of like a mural or whatever you want to call it of Hef as like Pan, and he looks really scary. And even in the commentary, Kendra goes, "Scary."
It was kind of ugly, and
it was hideous.
And I make a comment that they should redo that and put us in it with it, but I mean like redo it in a cute way.
Yeah. Do you remember when we went to go watch Beowulf? Like Steve Bing was involved in it. It was like an animated movie of Beowulf, and we went to a screening.
No, why don't I remember that?
I
It
don't
sounds like
know.
something I would remember.
Well, the reason I remember it is because like the villain in the story, Grendel, is a monster. But I swear to God, the features on the face look like Hef, and I was horrified by it at the time because I thought it was such an uncanny resemblance that not that he looks like Grendel, but like it just looked like the nose shape and different things that I felt like whoever was involved in this movie had done it on purpose and like was getting some weird sort of sick satisfaction that he was coming to the screening, because that's how uncanny it was.
How weird.
Yeah, and I talked about it in my YouTube video, and I like pulled a still of it, and I'm like, okay, here's the Grendel pic, and I'm not gonna say people in the comments were disagreeing.
Interesting.
It's
Now I gotta see what that looks like.
But also like the Pan painting kind of reminds me of that. It's just like a really like grotesque caricature kind of.
Yeah. Well, and then they're just like showing the transformation of the mansion, which I know we already talked about a little bit, but all the statues being brought in, the greenery, the food, tons of flowers, the tent, the pillow, all those like colorful pillows, and the like tablecloths and stuff. And then they have a like on the fly interview of Hank saying they're working 14 to 16-hour shifts for 1,000 people for 6 hours.
That's crazy. I wonder if they ever went over the pillows with a black light.
You know what? I was watching that scene too when they were bringing in some of those couches, and out in the daylight, I was thinking, ew, those couches look gross. And I don't know what is rented and what is owned, but I know that Playboy had like a big warehouse where they kept a lot of this party shit all the time. So I don't know if these were like Playboy owned couches, but I just wondered how often they got washed. And not because weird sexual gross things were going on, gross sexual things are going on, but even just like spilled drinks and food and I don't know. Like it just seems like I don't know how often they were cleaning.
People being nasty.
Yeah.
And then they focused in on a couple celebrities.
Yes.
One is this guy named Vern Troyer, also known as Mini-Me from the Austin Powers series. And he was at a lot of the parties, and I wonder how many listeners, well, I'm sure a lot of listeners, since you guys are listening because you remember the show, but I wonder how many people today know who Mini-Me is. Like, does Gen Z know Mini-Me?
I have no idea.
So Vern Troyer was in, I think it was Austin Powers 2 as Mini-Me, and all of a sudden he was like a sensation, especially at the Playboy Mansion. And they even did this pictorial, and this was before we were there. It was like 99 or something, called Mini Hef. Have you ever seen it?
I have.
And so it was this pictorial of Vern Troyer dressed up in like the satin pajamas and stuff with like all these naked women around him. It was so random.
What other celebrities did they show?
Hayden Christensen, who looked fine. And those are the only two I made note of.
I was waiting for the list. Okay, so then the next scene, they show Winnie barking, but it wasn't Winnie. Again, they put one of your dog barks.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was like, wait, because before the barking starts before they actually like open up on the scene, and I was like, oh, Holly's dog's barking, and then it shows Winnie like kind of shaking her head, and I'm like, wait, that's not Winnie's bark.
That's so funny.
She wasn't even barking yet, like she was so little, like she didn't even have like a bark yet, and then she rarely barked after that anyway. And she had like this really cute bark that was like a woo 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 woo. It wasn't like a sharp high pitched bark.
I remember that. Now I see that.
But she had like a woo woo bark.
Yeah.
And Gizmo's getting pissed at me because I'm brushing her.
Were her growls real this time?
This is real
okay.
growls. She hated.
Oh my god.
She hated to be brushed. I mean, hated it. But she had so much hair, and it's such like a fine cotton candy type hair, like you have to brush it or it gets knots. And so eventually it would get knots, and she won't let me brush them out, so we have to go to the groomers. But before we even get to all of that, it's funny because I noticed this is the scene. Anastasia already has the day spa certificate in her hand, and we're actually leaving to go to the spa, and on the way to the spa, I'm dropping Gizmo off, but it's so cut out of order. We haven't even given Anastasia the thing yet, so this is like totally not the right days. But anyway, we're sitting there. That's why we have no makeup on. And I was going to talk about that because you kind of mentioned it like in our a couple of episodes ago, I think, about like this was like we didn't even care that we weren't wearing makeup.
Nobody would be seen without a full beat on reality TV these days. Like, I always think of this scene, and maybe there was a legit reason for it. Like, maybe she had to, like, pop off to a thing real quick. But there was a scene on the Kardashians around, like, the Chris Humphries era where Kim is in a bathtub. And she has, like, bubble bath up to her neck. But full beat. Like, full hair in a updo that looked like one of the things from Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique where they spray the kids' hair at Disneyland and it's the tight-ass bun. Full beat makeup, and there was probably a reason for that in real life. Like, she probably had to shoot the scene and jet off to something else. But it's just like, or I think The Simple Life, that one season where Paris and Nicole weren't working together, there was like some scenes where it showed them like waking up and getting out of bed, and they already had like full makeup on. Like, nobody would ever do a scene without makeup these days, but back then we were just like running around free balling.
Yeah, because I noticed neither Anastasia and I have any makeup on whatsoever. And because we're getting ready to go to the spa. Like, why would we put makeup on? We're going to go get a facial and, like, something like that. So, But yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up again. And then Holly goes to Kendra's room, asks her if she's ready to go surprise Anastasia. And then you guys come in, and another thing that's out of order is my director's chair is up in there that says Bridget on it, but we haven't gotten those yet.
Yeah, according to the show, we have not got our director's chairs.
And we don't even know that we're going to get them because we haven't shot all that yet. Anyway, and then I noticed that there's this weird mask in the scene.
Oh, the mask. I thought that too. When I was rewatching it, I took like a screenshot of it. I'll throw it up on the Instagram or something. I'm like, what the fuck is this creepy mask? I was asking Bridget about it, and we think we know what it's from.
Yeah, because before you sent me the photo of the screen grab of it, I was thinking, what the hell is that weird mask?
Yeah.
Like, I know I had a lot of stuff in my room, but I know what every single thing is. I know exactly where I got it. I know why, everything. But that mask, I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we have it figured out. And it might be a deleted scene. I don't know if it's in the actual...
I think we can say what it is. It's not like a big suspense moment.
Okay.
It was from when we go to the circus, which I think is like a cold open for an upcoming episode.
Yeah.
But it's just another out of order thing. Like you said, like the director's chair. Like, according to the show, we haven't been to the circus yet, but...
Yeah.
And in the commentary, we are like not talking about it, because I think we're not allowed to talk about any scenes that might be upcoming.
Interesting, yeah. Or maybe we just didn't think anything of it when we did commentary, because we know what it is back then. But rewatching them now, I was like, what the hell is that scary mask in the background? But I think it's of a white tiger is what the mask is.
Yeah. I was going to ask too, had Anastasia ever had professional hair and makeup done before this makeover?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I wouldn't have at that age.
Yeah. I mean, we can ask her if she ever did it for, like, a dance or something.
Oh, by the way, how old was Anastasia during this scene? Because people are going to want to know.
18.
Okay.
We waited until her 18th birthday to go to, like, get her ready for Midsummer's. Like,
okay. So
like,
was this her first party, too?
Yeah, because even though she
Fun.
was around for other parties, she wasn't, like, allowed to go down. I mean, 4th of July she could, and Easter she could, because there's other, people there. But, like, in their daytime and stuff. But for the real parties, there was times she were there and had to stay up in the room.
Yeah, because you had to be 18 and over, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised it wasn't 21 and over, because you're serving people alcohol. And I know why it wasn't. There were plenty of playmates who are 18, 19, 20, and of course pervy guys. But I'm surprised from a liability standpoint that it wasn't 21 and over, or that you didn't have to like wear a wristband or something to get alcohol. Like these days, there'd be something in place.
Yeah, well, I think because it's a private party, not that you're still allowed to serve minors, but you don't have the same laws and stuff that if you're selling the alcohol. And then I say in here, I feel bad because I can't include my sister in everything, and I want to clarify what I mean by everything, because when I was rewatching this, I was like, well, I don't want her included in everything, but what I meant by this was like going to get our hair done all the time,
innocent stuff.
Yeah, going to the spa with us all the time, or like getting, cool clothes for the parties and stuff like that. She's coming with me to a lot of that thing to sit around and watch me get all that done, and me get all these outfits, and me go to all these parties and events and stuff, and she's not getting to do all of that stuff, and I feel like that would be hard to watch, all the time, somebody else doing all of that, and so I just wanted to clarify that I'm not talking about taking her to the club or bedroom or any of that kind of stuff. And so then we're all in my room.
But before that, like, I go and get Kendra from her room, and it's obvious. It's like the third time we've shot this scene, because nobody stands. Because I knock on the door and I say whatever. I say, like, Kendra, I want to go to Bridget's room. And she's standing right there at the door. Like, nobody, like, you don't go knock on anybody's room and they're standing right there at the door facing it, especially when it's a big bedroom like that. So you can tell that's like the third time we've shot that scene, and we're just ready to go.
And then we tell Anastasia we have a big surprise for her. And I'm curious, I can't remember, did she already know we were going to do this? Or was it truly a surprise for her?
I have no idea, because I kind of felt like that was your domain, and I didn't really know about the goings-ons of this whole thing.
Oh, yeah, I'm curious. I'll have to ask her if I'd already like keyed her in that we were going to do this and make sure she even wanted to do it, or if like it truly was a surprise. So we tell Anastasia we're going to give her like a makeover for Midsummer's, and then Kendra chimes in and says, and I'm going to teach you how to get laid. Maybe I'm a prude, but watching this back, I was just like, that was so vulgar. Like, no. That's not what we're trying to do here.
And sadly, in this society, like, no young woman needs to try to get laid.
Right.
I mean...
And again, we can ask Anastasia how she feels about this when she comes on, but I believe she was genuinely excited.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like she was super excited.
And you know what else? I feel like this episode, at least just from feedback I've seen, is a fan favorite because I feel like so many young women watching at home are like, I would want to have that makeover too.
That is so interesting that you said that, because that leads right into the next thing I was going to say. When I was leaving the mansion, there were so many people, including Kevin, who wanted me to do a show that was giving girls like the Playboy makeover.
Okay, that's hilarious because Kevin tried to get me to do that show too. I think that's fucked up. He's trying to get us both to do it at different times.
Yes.
Fuck him.
Yeah. He just thought it would be the best show to go around and like give the Playboy makeover to girls. And I don't deny that it's not like kind of a fairy tale, like would have been a fun show, but I also feel like it sends the wrong message, like that this is what you need to look like. Now, for people who want to look like that, I feel like it'd be an amazing show. But I also think that not everyone, that shouldn't be the only beauty standard that's out there.
Exactly. Like back in the day when I worked at the studio and was still doing Girls Next Door, I was always thinking about, you know, how do I keep being a playmate relevant so that it's still seen as this cool thing and women still want to do it. And at that time, America's Next Top Model was a huge show. And I was talking to Kevin about possibly doing a show at the studio that was like America's Next Top Model, but for playmates, which they had kind of done before with Who Wants to Be a Playboy Centerfold, but that was such a flash in the pan.
So I say I'm super excited to see Anastasia all made up because she's going to look worlds different. And like, I had no idea how different she was really going to look.
Me either. It was really effective.
Yes. I mean, it was dramatic, but we'll get into all of that. But we do, so we're going to do spa. Mm-hmm. You get her the boob inserts, hair extensions, waxing, tanning.
And I have a question too. So you and I are really actively participating in this and like taking Anastasia around to do things, but Kendra doesn't do any of that. And I can't imagine she wasn't asked to be a part of it.
Yeah, I don't think she wanted to. Either that or whatever she wanted to do, Anastasia did not want to do. But yeah, no, Kendra was not involved in this that I know of. And I talk about this right here in the scene. I say that Anastasia was feeling frumpy. She says that she felt fat and ugly. And I'm using those words. They're not my words. They are hers. That's what she was she called my mom crying one time when we were shooting and told my mom that she said that we looked so beautiful. And she just felt like she was fat and ugly and didn't like, you know, whatever.
That sucks. It's easy to feel that way there, though, for anybody.
Right. And then I thought this was a funny scene. I say, oh, maybe now Gizzy needs to get shaved for the party too. And they have her, she like just walked out on her tree little branch. And then I say that and she goes, and runs right back
funny.
in. I thought the timing was really funny. They put
cute.
Like the record scratching because I was like, no. But then they cut to a noise with her hissing, and that is fake.
So the owner of this spa was Jonathan Baker, and he was married to a playmate, Victoria Fuller. And they were on the show at the time called The Amazing Race. They were contestants.
But they owned the spa. They were nice enough to give us the certificates to go and like have a total spa day. And I think they do it later too in the Mother's Day episode.
Yeah.
Later on. But they were always really supportive of allowing their salon to be used for us.
You know what's funny in this scene is the butt crack towels.
Butt crack towels.
When you and Anastasia are laying on your stomach, they have like rolled up towels like covering your butt cracks.
Yeah.
Which is good that they had that, but I'm surprised that the show wasn't like, oh, do you really need those towels?
Yeah. I wonder if they do that. I wonder if they do that anyway for people, just as a modesty thing.
Yeah, they might, just to make people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Or they had your back more than the show did.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, well, so they were always really supportive and really nice of us then. Yeah, so, and they talk about Anastasia just feeling happy and grateful to be able to hang out with me, and she's so thankful to Hef for letting her stay, which I thought was a really sweet scene. Like, I actually got like a little teary-eyed and stuff, but she talks about also, again, feeling feeling frumpy and not good enough. And then she talks about how there's days where she's really tired and she doesn't want to do anything. And they cut to this scene where she's like laying on my bed and she's got one of my shoes in her hand. And I know what was going on. Like she would help me with like all these projects and stuff. Like I would keep this girl so busy. Like we were from working out every day to running errands to scrapbooking to rhinestoning, fittings, getting ready for like salon stuff. Like my sister's not really like that. My sister likes like lay in bed and read and snuggle with the cat and like down. And I was always like, let's go. We got this, we got that. And oh, you have downtime here. Start rhinestoning the shoe. So, like I've taught her how to rhinestone everything. So I know that those were the shoes I was going to be wearing for Midsummers. And they had snakes that wrapped around my ankle that I added to them. And I was having her rhinestone the snakes. And it's her like falling asleep trying to do rhinestone.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
And then they show the tiniest snippet of boot camp.
Yeah, Barry's boot camp, because you guys would go do that regularly. And I loved seeing the real life stuff that I didn't get to see even in the moment, because I wasn't going to Barry's boot camp. And because as we've established, I'm a lazy girl. And just kidding. But I didn't go to Barry's boot camp. And I remember when the show first started, I was kind of excited to see those real life moments that I didn't get to be a part of. Like I thought I was going to see more of like Kendra's massage school and you going out doing that. And they just ended up using so little of it.
Yeah. I'm surprised they ever showed Barry's boot camp. And you said, and that's when you say in commentary too, oh, I guess that's what happens when people don't let you film, you never see it. And I'm like, no, they were allowed to film, and they got to film it whenever they wanted there. They just chose not to use it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the show like had to get clearance and go film there and everything, but they used that same footage of Kendra in the mansion gym with the red headband like 20 times. Yeah. I call that the Kendra working out stock footage because it's just like they use it over and over and over.
I bring it up because they show it again in this episode. Yeah. But it's later on. But yeah. And then Anastasia says she loves having an older sister. And I was like, oh, that's cute. And then we're in the hot tub. It shows all these things that we got to go and do. And it made me like want to be at the spa again. But it shows us like in the hot tub that was up on the top.
The rooftop.
Yeah. And then the nap room and the Vichy shower thing, the facials and the massages. And I was just like, oh, I want to.
They would serve you really good salads there too. And you'd get it in those recliner rooms.
Yes.
It was a pretty innovative spa, and they had like this mud bar. You could pick different types of mud for your mud mask.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. And then they show us, and it's a totally different day, but they try and make it look like it's the same day, and we're going shopping for her outfit and shoes. Oh, and by the way, I'm wearing the Blonde Mafia shirt, just a little cameo there. And I take my sister to Claire Pettibone, and I actually used to get a lot of stuff from Claire Pettibone. I thought it was still so there. Cute. I didn't see it the last time I drove down Robertson.
Huh.
So it either moved or I don't know. But Claire was always really nice about letting us film there.
Yeah, that used to be your spot because I remember wasn't your Bride of Frankenstein dress a Claire Pettibone? Like that used to be what you always wore in the beginning.
Yeah. It was. I loved her stuff. And she would work with me and even make me custom stuff. Cool. And like she was just so nice about it. And her stuff is in like Nordstrom's and Macy's and stuff like that. So I just felt like it was really cool. Like I was sort of working with a designer.
Yeah, that's fun.
She even like, the first Midsummers party I went to, which was my first really big party, she even like set me up with her hair and makeup artist who did like for her runway stuff and catalog stuff and everything.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, so... in reality, Anastasia's outfit was just from Victoria's Secret, and the opposite is true with them. They would not let us film.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, but Claire was nice enough to let us film there. And I say I want to make Anastasia feel like a princess, get her all dressed up. And Anastasia's like doing a fashion show, coming out and all the different things. And then it shows us taking Gizmo to the groomers.
You know what? That was a blast from the past for me because I used to go to that same Petco regularly just for random things for the pets. And just when it shows the footage of your car pulling up and just seeing the entryway and like the little area they have for shopping carts and stuff, it's just one of those really incidental, ordinary things that you saw so many times, years ago, but never think about again. And it brings you back. It's like that scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where you're looking from the driver's perspective and it shows you pulling up the gates of the Playboy Mansion. It's like brings you back.
Yeah.
So it's such an ordinary, everyday thing that you never think about again.
It's weird how little scenes like that can just transport you.
Yeah.
Like, I know what you mean. Like, I saw it and I really felt like I was like pulling up. Like, the memories just come flooding back. Like, exactly like where everything was in that Petco and how you get in the store. Like, just the little stupid things that you just don't think of anymore. So it's crazy. And I say I like Gizmo big and fluffy because I always loved her to be big and fluffy. Like, that was my favorite way to have her. But it just isn't practical with like a cat like that when she doesn't want to be brushed. So she just had to get shaved. I had no choice. And that woman, Elsie, who used to do her grooming, was really amazing with her.
Yeah, because that's a skill.
Yeah. And she was so nice and so good with cats, and she truly loved Gizmo.
Aww.
And even after, like, I wasn't at the mansion anymore, I would still take her to see Elsie, and then Elsie finally quit Petco and opened up. She got one of those mobile van things.
Oh, cool.
I would still have her come to my house and
fun.
do Gizzy and everything. So up until the end, she was there with Gizmo, and I know that Gizmo hated the whole routine of the spa for herself, the grooming and everything. But when she got home, and I feel like they didn't show this, they just show one quick scene of her like shaved, but she really liked it. Like, she felt sly.
I remember that because she was fast Gizmo.
Yeah.
Like, you know when a dog gets the zoomies and they zoom around? Like, that was Gizmo after she got shaved. Like, all of a sudden, aerodynamic.
Yeah, she felt good. Like, she was jumping everywhere. She was
So
like,
funny.
had like a kick in her step. Like, she just...
New life.
Yeah, you know she felt good and she felt cool. And I don't know if this is the trick to it or not, but people used to tell me that cats get embarrassed when they get shaved. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that you should tell them how beautiful they look and make them feel good. And so ever since she was little and I would get this done to her, I would tell her, "Oh my God, Gizzy, you're so pretty. You're so beautiful.
Oh
Look
my
at
God.
you. My little lion," and stuff.
Lion. Yeah, she looked like a lion because her head wasn't shaved.
Yeah, and they put the little pom-pom at the end of her tail sometimes.
So funny.
So, like, I don't know if that helped or not. I don't know
Yeah.
if cats are into psychology like that. But I would tell her how pretty she looked, so hopefully that helped.
Probably. I mean, some people tell you should talk to plants or your water.
It's true,
So it
yeah.
probably works for cats.
All right, next scene. Holly's in charge of the makeover now.
Yeah, I'm bringing Anastasia to a place to get waxed. And before I get into it, I want to say how funny it is how they juxtapose Anastasia getting waxed with the cat getting shaved.
I think that's hilarious, too. But first you go to Mel's Diner.
Oh, that's first? Okay,
Yeah.
so first we go to Mel's Diner. And I love going to Mel's Diner. That's the one on Sunset Boulevard. And the cool thing about Mel's Diner in LA is they always take over kind of like historic places and like keep the integrity of it. And this isn't a place that was like supposedly like legendary in the 60s. Like, I wasn't around in the 60s, but supposedly like it was a diner called Ben Frank's, and I don't know why I'm getting into this history lesson, but that was where like a lot of hippies would congregate, and it was like supposedly like a really cool place. But now it's Mel's Diner, and I took Anastasia there to give her this set of like boob inserts that you stuff your bra with.
But before you give them to her, you do the cutest drawing.
Yeah, I do a little drawing of what Anastasia looks like before and after the makeover.
And then Anastasia says, "Oh, I wish I had boobs like that." And then, I mean, it almost seems too good to be true.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if she was in on this or what. But then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, speaking of that."
Surprise, surprise. And I noticed like the inserts are like not her color,
No.
but I think it's cool that they like made different skin colors back then, because I feel like that's kind of something that people are just now catching up with. Like, I know Band-Aid like just started coming out with Band-Aids that are like other people's skin color besides
Isn't that
white.
crazy?
It's nuts how like there's just like this one shade that was thought of as like skin color when
Yeah.
it's really like so many other shades. So I think it's kind of cool that they were like making the different colors back then.
Yeah, well, even nude color is still considered nude
Yeah.
color, and that's not nude for everybody.
Yeah, it's like only for a fraction of the people.
Yeah, so yeah, it is interesting how things just become, you don't think of them when it doesn't affect you.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
you're like, whoa. Another thing I saw online is somebody drew one of those medical drawings. Like, you know when you go into like a OBGYN office or something, and they have like the medical drawing of like a pregnant woman, but you can like see inside the belly and you
Yeah.
see what the baby and all the organs look like. Somebody did a drawing of a black woman and a black baby like that. And I was just like mind blown. It's always a white person in those things.
That's true.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. Well,
Glad we're making progress.
yeah, there's progress being made, so. And then I think it's funny because Anastasia's like, oh, I'll have to try these. And you're like, I'll have to try these on later. And you're like, no, right now.
Yeah, like stuff them in.
And Anastasia says under her breath, oh shit.
But you don't have to get naked. You just like shove them in your clothes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then we ran into one of Hef's friends at Mel's Diner, which was random. His name was Chuck McCann. He's a voice actor, very funny guy. And it was just a random thing because LA isn't a city where you run into people generally.
Yeah, and I know we talked about this once before, and I think we took it out because we're like, that nobody cares about who Chuck McCann is, but I'm going to say it again because I think it's funny. He was like the voice on DuckTales.
Oh yeah, he was a voice on a lot of like famous things you would know, a lot of commercials.
Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, maybe not Fruit
Kibbles
Loops.
and Bits.
Kibbles and Bits.
Tony the Tiger, right?
Cocoa Puffs.
Not Tony the Tiger.
Cocoa Puffs.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He was that
Yeah.
guy who said that stuff. And then the Kibbles and Bits and Bits and Bits. Yeah, anyway.
But you know what I remember him for? And I'll probably only leave this in on the Patreon because it's so fucking random. So near the end of Girls Next Door, you really wanted us to go to Romania. And I thought it might happen. And I was getting excited. And I was sitting in the dining room before buffet started, like early. Nobody was there. And it was like me and like Angel and Laura sitting around. And I was like talking about Romania, so excited. Chuck McCann walks in. And he's this towering, tall guy. And he hears me say Romania, and all of a sudden this booming, like, Broadway voice just starts singing out really loud, Romania, Romania, Romania. And we were just like, what is happening right now? And, like, Angel and I still talk about this to this day, and, like, I can't say Romania in front of her without it, like, veering toward that.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
But you know what? You said it's like totally weird to run into him at Mel's Diner, but I feel like I remember it being one of his hangouts. Like he used to like...
I think you're right. It just feels weird anytime you're in LA and you run into somebody at a place that's not like, I don't know, a hot spot where you already know your friends are going to be.
Yeah, and then just so you guys know too, we do get into Chuck McCann later when I do my voiceover stuff because he's kind enough to like help with all of that.
He'll be back.
Yeah. So this is your pre-warning.
And in the interview, when I'm being asked about the Anastasia makeover, it's very clear in the interview, you can tell that I'm not trying to push a beauty standard. I'm just like, you know, we have these boobs, she can wear them or not. Like, I forget what I say, but I'm just like, we're just having fun with it.
Yeah.
So anybody who wants to say I'm pressuring a young girl to look a certain way,
well,
that was never the thing. I mean, we'll ask Anastasia how she feels, but that was never the thing.
Yeah, I think the whole point of this was to have fun with it and then just make her feel good. Like,
and the boob part was more to be funny because that is the stereotypical thing that a Playboy girl is going to have big boobs. So I'm like, if we're doing this look, we're going to stuff the bra. Like, not that she had to stuff the bra or wanted to, but I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. And then they must have asked you what the funniest part of the makeover is because you're like, I think the funniest part of the makeover was the waxing.
Yeah, because, okay, so we went to this place called Pink Cheeks on Ventura in like Sherman Oaks, Studio City. I always get those two mixed up.
Yeah.
Because they run into each other. I think it's still there.
It is still there.
Yeah, and the lady who runs it is funny. So she's asking Anastasia, which, by the way, your sister is a trooper to do the waxing scene online.
Well, can we say,
Not
too...
online, on camera.
You talk about how much you hate getting waxed, and I never even got waxed at this point. So the fact that she was going to go get waxed, I was like, whoa, you're brave.
Yeah, I've only ever done it like once or twice, and I don't like doing it because you have to grow the hair out a certain length for it to even work, and I just don't even want to do that, so I just shave every day.
See, I do it now on my own.
Uh-huh.
But I don't go to a place or anything like that. I just do it now on my own to get it like super clean and good, especially my legs. I love smooth legs. But back at the mansion, I never waxed.
Well, there would have been no downtime where you were allowed to be hairy for a day.
That is true. And you say Anastasia doesn't act scared at all. And I was watching the scene and I'm like, she is so brave. She doesn't even look like she has a care in the world. If I knew I was going to go get everything waxed in a minute on camera, I would have been shitting my pants.
Yeah. But she does wear like a conservative type of thing. Like when we say she's getting waxed on camera, she's not getting like the full deal waxed on camera.
Right.
It's just like around the edges.
But okay, first of all, there's so many things I have to say to this right here. She's wearing granny panties.
Uh-huh.
And I said something about her wearing granny panties, and I've never lived it down. I'm sure she'll bring it up when we have her on the show. She gives me so much shit for saying she was wearing granny panties, and she still swears by those kind of panties today.
Yeah, because I feel like anything that's not a thong is a granny panty.
Oh, I'm G-string.
Yeah. But it was smart of her to wear that on camera, though.
Absolutely. And then you're talking about the full bush. It's called a power muff.
Yeah, because I'd heard that somewhere. I was like, yeah, that's what a full bush is called these days, a power muff.
And Anastasia's just silent for a while, then she probably goes, yuck.
So funny. She always had these funny, sarcastic responses.
And then you say pink cheeks should be called pink lips, and I was like, ew.
Yeah, well, you're not really I mean, I guess some people wax their cheeks, like their butt cheeks. But
yeah, I think a lot of guys go there too and do everything.
That makes sense. So Cindy, the owner of Pink Cheeks, is doing the waxing. I saw her on another show. I forget what show this was. It was probably an E! Show. It was one of those type of shows, but it was about like makeovers and stuff. And there was like an adult film actress was getting anal bleaching on this show. And so she's bent over, and Cindy's like, oh, we need to wax you first. She goes, you got a whole tail out here. I'm going to take you out to the back and ride you around the parking lot.
Oh my God.
I know, dying.
Oh my God.
Dying.
But, and I know you already said that, but I have it in my notes right here. The scene is intercut with the scenes of Gizmo being shaved, and I know we bash the editors all the time, but this is one spot where I feel like it is fucking brilliant.
Amazing. Yeah, it's so good. It reminds me of like how Winnie and Gizmo were like juxtaposed with me and Barbie fighting at the fight night.
Yeah, and that one was over my head. Like, I didn't even realize it. But this one I just thought was really, really good.
It's really good. And when Gizmo's getting shaved, there's a point in time where she looks like a puppet, like a Jim Henson puppet. Because she's just so, it's like a Halloween cat.
Yeah, well, I think she had to pull her head back.
Yeah.
So, and then, I mean, Cynthia, the owner of the salon, definitely has a thing for Hef.
Well, or we're made to think that, because I kind of feel like this episode is like grooming the audience a little bit. Because, and I don't think the editors or the network had like a sinister agenda, like let's over-sexualize young girls and make it seem like Hef's like what they should be going after. Like, I don't think it was like a sinister agenda like that. But I do think they were probably, this is just a guess, I think they were probably scared that like the show wouldn't go over or it wouldn't be relatable because people would be like, ew, gross, like why are these girls with an old man? So I think they felt like they had to hype him up. But the end result is I feel like you're grooming the audience because you have Cindy from Pink Cheeks and she's talking about Hef to Anastasia, and I just feel like maybe some parts of the conversation were authentic, but it makes me, like I always say, it kind of reeks of a Fed line when the producers are like, can you say this or can you ask this? Because she's saying like, oh, you're going to Midsummer's, that's a legendary party. Like she's saying all the perfect things that the producers would want in the show to like portray how big this party's going to be. And she might have said that because it was a big deal party that everybody wanted to go to. But then she's like, is he as handsome as he is on camera or on TV or something? And I don't know. I just feel like he's not really, that much of a heartthrob that people would be saying that. And this is coming from someone who, when I was with Hef, I thought he was charming and I thought he was good looking in his own way and stuff like that. Like, I'm not trying to bash him. I just think this conversation is a little too good to be true for the show's purposes. And it reeks of like Fed lines. And she's like, oh, would you ever be a girlfriend? Like as if everybody, like they're kind of framing this party to be the Cinderella ball, which I say in an interview early in this episode, it's kind of like a modern day Cinderella ball. And they're almost like acting like she doesn't know who Anastasia is. And like, of course, her main idea in going to this party must be, are you going to meet Hef? Would you ever be a girlfriend? And I just think that the general public wasn't like so aware of like, the girlfriend, not that they're not aware that Hef had girlfriends, but it just seems odd that a girl is coming in, oh, I'm going to a Playboy party. Oh, would you ever be a girlfriend? Like, I don't know that that would be like one of the first topics of convo. It just seems a little too convenient. And of course it's funny when Anastasia's like, well, my sister's a girlfriend, so that'd be weird,
Yeah. See, I didn't think that when I watched this scene, but I wasn't there, and I could be wrong. I don't doubt that sometimes the show fed people lines, but I never actually heard them, like, I mean, in our interviews, absolutely. But I never heard them like us going to like a thing and them saying, "Can you tell them this?" Can you tell
I
them
heard
that?"
no, I heard it all the time because like before a shoot would be set up, they'd go to the place and say exactly what they need out of the scene. Like they would tell me that a lot of times. Like maybe they wouldn't tell you because you're more like gregarious and just social and stuff, but I'm like a brick and you need to pull this shit out of me, so they need to tell me what the scene is. But they would say that not only to me, but to like the workers working there. Like, okay, this is what we want to get out of the scene. So if you could kind of ask this or do this or
I saw some of that,
Yeah.
like just kind of guiding, like this is what we're here for, and this is what we need. But like specific lines, like you think that they told her to say that Hef is handsome, or that what else did she say? That Hef has smiling eyes.
not necessarily those specifics, but I suspect there was probably like, oh, ask her about the party. It's a really cool party. Ask her
Yeah.
about Hef. Ask her if she's ever met Hef, because they know that would be funny. I think there's definitely a setup. That's just my suspicion. Of course, I don't know, but I just feel like this is too good to be true.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
people aren't lusting after Hef, like the general public. It's just not. But they're trying to set it up to make it look like he's the most sought after and every woman should be after him, which once you're in the Playboy world, you can feel that a little bit. But I don't think like an outsider who's just kind of vaguely aware of the party and who Hef is like, oh my God, is he as handsome? I don't buy it for a second.
But she's older, and she might think
Not
that
that
like, no, she wasn't like old, but she was older, so she might. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Taking just like a quick step back, I wanted to say that I do think that this episode is grooming, or this scene is grooming a little bit, but not in the same way.
Grooming in more ways than one.
Yeah, that is true. But I think it's trying to groom the audience a little bit for a different way. I think that they're trying to plant the seed in the audience's minds that if this makeover goes well, Anastasia might be considered a girlfriend.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either, and I didn't think it at the time. That was nowhere anywhere in my head.
That could be a thing.
And I'm thinking that they like that this woman is saying all this stuff, whether it was planted or not, to try and like make people think, oh, so if Anastasia is like hot after this, she might be a girlfriend or maybe a playmate, like in the like part of the Playboy family somehow.
I don't like that. I do think it's a valid consideration, though. It could be for sure.
And just to be clear, this is not Hef doing this. This is the show doing this.
Like looking
Hef's,
for any kind of stakes or,
As far as I know, Hef's not saying if Anastasia looks hot after this,
Yeah,
I'm going to make her a girlfriend. Like that was never any of it. But yeah, I just rewatching it, I was like, wait, are they trying to like suggest that Anastasia might be a girlfriend later?
Yikes.
Ew. And then the lady asked her if she wants to, and they bleep it out, but basically if she wants her butthole done.
Yeah.
And
Just
then
like nobody's looking.
no one's looking. Thanks, I'm good.
That's so funny.
But then they show Gizmo getting groomed, her butt getting shaved real
Oh
quick.
my God, that's funny.
And the grooming lady smacks Anastasia's ass, which I thought was a little...
I'm going to ask Anastasia, was that weird?
Yeah, a little weird. And then right at that scene, the Gizmo's at the groomer's and she smacks the groomer with her paw.
Oh my God, that's funny.
So I did think that the cutting it that way was really
Yeah,
fun.
the editing was funny. So now we're back at the mansion and there's more like setting up for the party.
Wait, can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't care.
Sorry.
Keep it coming.
In real life, after this, you take Anastasia to get a spray tan. And I don't think I really got spray tans back in that day.
No, we didn't. And I didn't start getting spray tans until like right before I left the mansion because I saw my friend Ashley was getting spray tans at this place called Portofino in Beverly Hills. And they actually did a color that looked like a convincing suntan because back in the mid-2000s, spray tans looked orange. Like I remember there was a girlfriend a few years even before this show was being shot that was getting spray tans, and I remember I vowed to myself I'm never getting a spray tan because they look so bad, like so orange. And the weird thing is now everybody accuses us of being orange when they watch this show, but it's not because we had spray tans or were really orange in real life. It's because this show was color corrected to be super saturated, which I love because it gives us this cartoony fun feel.
Yeah.
But it also makes us orange.
Yeah.
Especially like in the first couple of episodes.
Well, they don't show it, but you take her to get a spray tan, and I'd never had a spray tan that I know of. And if I had, it'd been a long time. I don't know. I just don't recall ever having it. And I remember I had a really bad day that day. I don't know what happened, but I remember I got a really bad migraine, and I actually fell asleep in like the window seat of my room, and just a horrible headache. And Anastasia comes back, and she walks in my room, and the camera crews come in, and they flip on all the lights, and they're plugging in all the extra lights, and they're like, we need to put a mic on you, we've got to do a scene. And I'm like dying. I was sound asleep with this migraine headache, and I look at my sister, and she is like, looks like she's covered in mud. And I was like, oh my God, what happened to you? Like, is that going to come off? That looks terrible. You're way too dark. Like, I was like, it was like so much drama all at once, and I was like so sick and then so shocked at how she looked. And like,
what did they do to you?
Yeah, I was like appalled. Like, I thought, like, this is really bad. Like, how are we going to like change this? I had no idea that like that you rinse it off the next day and it's like normal then. Yeah. And the show wanted to do the scene with me, and I think we did. They forced me to do the scene, but I was not feeling it. And then I've always sort of felt bad about it after that, because now that I have gotten spray tans after that, I'm like, oh wait, that's just the way they are. You look like a dirty, muddy mess until you wash it off the next day. But at the time, I didn't know, and then them forcing me to do the scene when I didn't feel good, and I just remember it being like this really bad scene. You know what I mean? Like, just really, like, I was mad, and I didn't like how her makeover was turning out. And
I'm surprised they didn't use that for like stakes. Like, that's kind of a missed opportunity.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is that it just didn't work out because it just was like a bad scene all around.
Yeah, because that would have been funny. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I was in shock.
Oh
in
my
total
gosh.
shock. Then the next scene, they're showing everybody setting up for the party. So much
Alan
needs
the
to be
butler
done.
is being walked by Archie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is true. They show kitchen, maintenance, all the decorating going on. And then here's something that confused me, though. Hank says he needs to set up 10 bars for 1,000 people. And I don't remember where the 10 bars were.
Girl, I was thinking the same thing, because it's like, okay, there was a bar on the back patio.
Yes.
There was a bar over by the pool house, the bathhouse.
Yeah, the pool bar.
There was a bar on the tennis courts.
Oh, was there? I guess I never.
I mean, we never walked over there.
Okay.
But there was a bar on the tennis courts. I have no idea where the 7 other bars are.
And you know what I always thought was weird? That there was not a bar in the game house. Like, you would think that there would be one out there or one near it.
Yeah, like in the backyard or something.
Yeah, and I never saw one in the game house. Yeah, I would love to ask Brian Alea, like, where the 10 bars were.
Yeah, because I'm stumped. Unless his definition of bars is like maybe they have like 3 different stations within one area. Like, remember the big permanent bar that's outside the bathhouse? Like, maybe they have 3 different stations there, and that's the definition of a bar.
Maybe. That would...
I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I know when I went to parties later, there were additional bars, but the setup was different.
Yeah, after it went downhill.
And then Hank starts talking about the painted ladies, and so we get into that whole scene next.
Yeah, so all these women who are going to be Jello shot girls at the party are getting painted. They're nude, and their costumes are painted on, airbrushed on, in the mansion gym. And we're seeing scenes of like people doing the painting, and like they're basically like eye level with these people's butts and crotches. And my first thought was, what if you had to fart? I mean, I guess you would just excuse yourself, but like somebody standing there, and I'd be like, I need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
That'd be like my worst nightmare.
Yeah, I never thought about that. And then Mark says that he sends all the pictures of all the girls over to Hef ahead of time, which I just thought was interesting because, you know, Kendra always made it sound like it was her that was special that got her picture sent over to Hef, and that he personally chose her, but he chooses all the painted ladies.
Yeah, he has to approve all the painted ladies that are going to work. So they cut to this girl who's getting painted, and she has no makeup on, like us in many of the scenes. And she's cute. She has like kind of a Kate Hudson vibe and stuff.
Yeah, and she says everybody here has fake big boobs but me. And then she kind of looks around and was like, oops, did I just say that? Like, I feel like she's trying to, like, start shit a little bit.
That's so funny. And then they have that girl saying, oh, this is how Kendra got started. And she says something to the effect of, maybe I'll be the next girlfriend. Watch out, Hef. And I completely feel like that is not authentic. I think that's 100% a fed line. I don't think unless Mark Frazier is trying to recruit girls by saying, oh, this is how one of Hef's girlfriends got started. Like, how would she even know? Or, like, nobody, like, the show was not on the air at this point, so nobody knows who Kendra is.
That's true. I do believe that Mark may have said something to some of the girls, like, oh, last girl that did Painted Lady, you know, she's one of Hef's girlfriends now or whatever. I think that that's possible that he said that. But I do feel like she was just sort of kidding around.
Me too, because if she had really wanted to be a girlfriend, like, she would have made her presence known. Like, women who wanted to be a girlfriend or wanted to get with Hef or wanted to be noticed for the magazine, like, they were not shy about it most of the time. Like, they would come to the table and, like, really make their presence known, and I don't remember ever, like, meeting that girl.
No, the first time I remember seeing her is in this clip when we are watching the show weeks later, and I'm like, oh. So I think she was totally joking. Whether she was fed the line or not, I don't know, but I think she was totally kidding.
I think so, too, and I'm convinced she was fed that line, because I feel like nobody knew who Kendra was at that time, because the show wasn't on the air, unless Mark Frazier was bragging about it. But I feel like, too, if that was kind of your agenda, like, oh, I hope I'm Hef's next girlfriend, I don't know if that's something you'd be so open about on national television, unless, like, somebody prompted. It just seems weird. It's too good to be true. I'm convinced this is another grooming the audience moment.